If your industrial sales pipeline sucks and you're not closing deals, I have 3 solutions for you to implement today to increase your revenue. Challenges of marketing and selling technical products. So I spent like 12, 13 years selling and marketing technical stuff on the plastic side and equipment, and 4 years or so as an engineer. So I know this space, and we deal with it with our clients, and we deal with it with prospects all the time of what are the top issues that you guys run into. All right, number one, I'm just going to call it specs versus solutions. And I know some of you guys may be like, I know where he's going with this because I've said it dozens and dozens and dozens of times. The common issue is in industrial manufacturing companies, usually, a lot of times, not always, but the salesperson, the highest salesperson, the VP of sales has the most technical knowledge because the owners, upper management, etc., think whoever knows the most about what it is that we do from a technical standpoint, whether it's a service or the technicalities behind the product, that person should be in charge of sales because, of course, the potential customer is going to ask technical questions. So I want my salesperson to be able to answer everything. Here's the issue with that, is that there's a process to sales. You go from selling, building value, offering up a solution, etc. Then you go into the closing phase. And from closing, you don't go back to selling. You don't, like, depending on what the conversation is when you're trying to close somebody, you got to stay in that closing phase. Sometimes you have to add a little bit of value if you didn't do a good job in the selling phase to provide enough value as to why you guys can charge for your service the way that you do, or why your product's going to solve their issue, or the availability of the product, or the price of the product, or whatever it is. But too often, the highest, most technical person is always in the technical side. So they're missing the cues in the sales process to move directly into closing. They're just there to sell spec sheets. And what I mean by that is, hey, look, they do the show up and throw up in a presentation. Somebody invites them to come in. Hey, I want to give you guys a presentation about our service or our product. Cool. Next Tuesday at 10. They go in there and they just show up and throw up information. This is what we do. This is what we have. This is why it's better. This is why the competitor stuff sucks. This is why you should go for us. It's just building and selling the specs, the tech, and throwing up that information on top of the person. What usually happens is, number one, they're not finding out what is the actual solution. So specs versus solutions. You have to discover the problem first. Technical salespeople and people in industrial manufacturing usually do more talking than listening in a sales process. They're not asking questions, waiting for those responses, and then offering up the solution. They're like, all right, let me explain a little bit about myself and what we do. And they go blah, 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 blah. And then before you know it, in the conference room, on the call, in Zoom, in person, people are just starting to check out and they're not listening as closely because you're not offering up engagement to them. You're not asking them questions. So you need to go into it and say, hey, look, they have some sort of problem. Your goal as a salesperson is to figure out what is the problem and then offer them up a solution to that problem. So being strategic about your questions, you have to first identify what the problem is. What type of issues are you guys having in your plant with this? What type of issues are you having with your supply chain? Ask as many questions as possible. We have our process here that we follow when we talk to people. We have ways that we train industrial companies, whether you're selling capital equipment, machining services, robotic integration, packaging, cold steel, whatever it is. You have to ask questions. You have to figure out what is important to this person based on figuring out what problems do they have. Do they have issues with their supply chain? Hey, we got issues with our supply chain. What specific issues do you have with your supply chain? Oh, it is delivery and the quality of the product is not consistent. We're dealing with a lot of rejects and scrap, etc. Okay, cool. So from a salesperson, you want to offer up a solution to that. So then you only will go down the path of the problems that they have. Why am I going to pitch you stuff that is not even relevant to your problem? What's going to happen is I'm telling you things that you don't need to know, don't care to know, so your listening is going to be less attentive when I'm offering up that solution. So if I talk to you and I say, let's take, for instance, because I'm sure he's on here, Tim Drinkwater, right, who owns a CNC machine shop in Janesville. If Tim's on the call, which I'm sure he is, because we love Tim and he supports this channel and this mission that we're on, Tim calls up somebody and he's like, hey, wanted to see if you guys are open to adding another supplier. We're a machine shop. We're AS9100. We're TS16949, whatever it is, certifications, right? They're like, yeah. What issues are you having with your supply chain? They're like, oh, we're having issues with capacity. Like none of our guys have capacity, or we haven't found somebody that can offer up this type of quality. Okay, cool. Then Tim's going to take that conversation and strictly go into offering up a solution based on the capacity that they have. Hey, we've got open capacity. This is how many machines we have. This is the current efficiency that we're running. This is the current capacity that we have open. What type of projects do you guys have? Oh, we need this many parts by this date, etc. So you can do all of that and going down the path to offer up the solution to the specific problem that they have. If you don't, then that conversation is going to be like this. Hey, we're a CNC machine shop. We're these certifications. We have these types of equipment. These are some of our customers, etc. I want to see if you guys have any projects for me to work on. They may come back and say, yeah, actually we do, based on that information that you said. But if you go into the specs and the equipment and the team and all the information that isn't really necessary in that first conversation, it's just a waste of time. So you want to ask strategic questions about issues that they could have. And you're basing your questions off of your experience in the industry. So you know not to ask dumb questions, but very strategic questions to try and pull that information out for them to use as a tool to then go back to them with a solution. And then you use their words against them. Hey, so earlier in the conversation, you mentioned that this was an issue. And I asked you, what type of dollar would you put to that? So somebody dealing with line down situations or can't get the parts fast enough or the quality is bad. So you mentioned that you're dealing with poor quality from your supply chain. What type of issues does that cause for you guys internally on what you're trying to make? Oh, we have these types of issues. And if you had to put a dollar amount behind that, what type of dollars do you feel like that's costing you because of this? Oh, it's this dollar amount. Now you can use that information to offer up your solution. And when you say, hey, look, to solve this issue, it's gonna cost you this many dollars to get that done. And if they push back on price, it's like, yeah, but remember, you said it's costing you this much money. So you use the information that you learn to help them offer up or help yourself offer up a solution, help solve their problem. And then if they give you pushback in the closing phase based on price, availability, lead time, etc., you then could say, hey, justify it based on X, Y, and Z. So too often people are doing the show up and throw up, not going after solutions or going after spec sheets. We see it on the capital equipment side, but you even on capital equipment, you sell something that's a machine and you can customize that machine or you have different types of machines. You got to ask them all these questions to figure out, I sell 6 different types of machine. What is the application that you're using this for? Oh, we're doing this. Okay, so that narrows you down to 1 or 2 types of machines. What type of, are you looking to go hydraulic, electric, hybrid, etc.? What's the application? What's the throughput that you need on the machine, cycle time? All these things, you're asking all these questions about the application and then offer up the solution of, okay, so for us to solve that problem, to make those parts, etc., you need this type of machine. Here's why this machine would be a great fit for you based on you answering these questions. So if you're trying to sell something that's newer technology, let's say, you can't even say new anymore, newer technology, all electric equipment, whether it's an injection molding machine, press stamping machine, etc. We're going all electric. You're going to try and push that. You have to understand what is the current product that they have. Do they have 20 hydraulic machines and they've been talking about like, hey, have you ever guys looked at going in servo or all electric? Oh yeah, we have, but it's too expensive. Okay, well, the argument there is a cost savings on efficiency, precision accuracy, et cetera, et cetera. And then maybe there's ways to save money on electricity through grants if they're giving grants to companies that are investing in technology that's energy efficient, et cetera. But you have to ask those questions first. So think about that the next time that you guys are pitching somebody or even marketing to somebody. You're sending out a cold email sequence and you go into this long storytelling stuff that's just throwing up information. Nobody cares about it. Direct and to the point. Just like on your sales calls, I want to be talking 20% of the time. I don't care if I'm selling our services as a marketing agency or if I'm selling equipment, machine shops, injection molding, robotics. It does not matter. I want to be talking only 20 to maybe 30% of the time. I want to be asking questions, getting them to tell stories, getting them to provide as much information as possible. Then I come in with a solution. So sell solutions, not specs. That's number 1. Number 2, what is your value prop? Your value proposition, what makes you better than everybody else? How are you different? A fun game that I play with industrial companies is tell me your value proposition on the services side. So I'd say about 55, 60% of our clients are in the services side versus a physical product, physical industrial product. On the services side, Tell me your top 3 things that make you better than everybody else, but you can't say quality, you can't say delivery, and you can't say customer experience. And they're like, oh, those are my 3. That's everybody's 3. That's just across the board. Everybody's like, my quality is the best. So does everybody else's. My customer service is the best. So is everybody. Oh, we're family owned. So is half of your competition, if not more, right? Everybody says the same thing. So you got to think of creative ways to make yourselves better. What is your value prop? Because you guys pitching your value prop, once you go into, you ask the questions, you're trying to offer up the solution, and they ask the question of like, well, what makes you better than Joe Schmo down the street? Oh, here's 2 things that separate us. Here's one main thing that separates us. So go through the value proposition in your mind, and it can't be the same thing as everybody else. Because if everybody else is saying the same thing, then you're just a me too company. So like for us, you want to work with a marketing agency, cool. We do B2B marketing. So does other B2B agencies. Yeah, but we're in the niche of industrial. Okay, now we're getting more focus. Less companies focus on that niche as industrial. Then take it a step further. We only work with industrial. Okay, so that's different. You got marketing agencies that do healthcare, education, general B2B services, comma, industrial. We only work with industrial. So now that group just got smaller. So our competitive base is smaller. So what separates us from those competitors? Well, it's the way we do things. It's the technology stacks that we have. It's the services that we offer. It's et cetera, right? We tell the story that way. No different than you guys. It does not matter if you're selling equipment, services, products. What makes your product better? What makes your service better? And you can't be using the same things that everybody else does. So you got to get your value proposition right to where when people do ask that question, you have something to answer that's not just, we have 99.99% on-time delivery. Okay, if that's all that matters to the person, then you can pull on that lever of a value prop. But if your other 3 competitors that are all bidding on the same project all say the same thing, cool, they all have great delivery. Well, our quality is the best. We have the lowest PPM, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. So does everybody else. So what really makes you different? Well, we have the most engineers. Okay, the other competition has engineers too. They say that they're the smartest. You say you're the smartest. They say that they offer cost savings. You say you'll offer cost savings. So what really makes you different at the end of the day? So get creative with it. Go through the process. Look at your competitor's website. What do they talk about? What's their value prop? What's the About Us page talking about? What have you known from the industry? That they say these 3 things, these 5 things. How can you stand out and be different? Because that's what's going to come down to when you're up against competition. It's you versus another shop, or your product versus another product. So you got products behind us here. These products versus other products, what makes them better? You have to have something specific, because if you don't, then somebody's just going to say, it's going to be more an emotional based decision. Well, I don't like you as much. I like these guys better. Or it's ease of use situation. Well, I already buy from them, so I can buy more from them versus bringing you in as a new vendor because you're not offering me up anything better. So look at that value prop. Number 3, the most important, and I will say this until I am blue in the face, follow-up. I will challenge any salesperson that I could outwork them because I could follow up more. Because I have this principle that at some point somebody's going to get sold, right? Either you're selling me on no, or I'm selling you on yes. Would you agree? Yes, you would agree. Somebody's going to get sold. So if you're selling me on no, or not right now, or no engagement, then I'm just going to give up. And there's no, like, the only way to fail is to give up. That's it. Like, my definition of failure is you fail when you stop trying. Otherwise, if you never stop trying, you can never fail. Now, things can fail and things can not work, and you can change direction just in general in life. But if I never give up, then I can never fail. And if I never fail, then I can always have the opportunity to win. So if you don't engage with me, I'm going to follow up. I don't care if it's 1 million times. I will continue to follow up. It may reduce the frequency over time. Like, look, dude, I'm still following up. I just followed up like a month ago on a guy that I've been trying to get a hold of for 2.5 years. I've gotten a hold of him. Then he ghosts me. Then I get a hold of him, then he ghosts me. I try different methods, but the money in sales is made in the follow-up. Too often people, I don't care if you're 25 or 65, too often people are like, minimal effort. Hey, this person called, they wanted a quote. Are they going to buy? Yep, they are. Nope. You know, what happened with that deal, Joe? I followed up a couple times. He never heard back from me, so he must not be interested in doing business. No, that's not the way that it works. They just they've changed their priority, or it's not the highest thing on their list. That doesn't mean necessarily no. And if it means no until they tell me no, I'm going to assume that it's still a possibility.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Either you give up on them or they tell you no. And until one of those things happens, you got to follow up. Trade shows, perfect example. Go to a trade show, 100 leads. What happens? You're hot to trot for those trade show leads for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. After that, go back 6 months. Hey, did you ever follow up with that guy that you had that conversation with 6 months ago at that trade show? No, he never responded to me. Okay, so you just forget about it. So you just kick him to the curb. This is where having something like HubSpot, Salesforce, Apollo, any sort of CRM system in place, you never have to worry about remembering that. You can just say, I'm going to set a task 6 months from now. Once that task comes, you complete that task, you set the next task 6 months down the road. Put them into a nurture campaign email. Every 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 months, they're going to get an email. Hey, just want to know I'm thinking about you. Hey, want to follow up on this project. We talked about this a while ago. Didn't know if it was still viable or if there's still an opportunity to get this done. So you got to continue following up with people. Otherwise, your pipeline is going to shrink. You get a lot in the top of the funnel, and it just gets smaller and smaller because you're only focusing on those ones that are engaging the most. There's not a salesperson out here that can say they're too busy for follow-up. That is an excuse that salespeople say, is that I'm too busy. Busy is normal, right? Everybody is busy. I'm busy. Riley's busy. Video team's busy. Automate. Everybody here is busy. Nobody's like not busy. So if busy is normal, what you're doing is not extravagant or above and beyond. So you can't say, yeah, sorry, I was too busy to follow up. Following up takes like 2 minutes or less. Send them a message on LinkedIn. So here's where we get into the strategy behind it. If you are following up, this literally just happened a week and a half ago with one of the sales guys that we have. He had a good conversation with somebody, and I know for a fact this is going to be the same thing that you guys are dealing with internally. Had a good conversation with somebody, sent him pricing. The guy said, hey, I got to talk to upper management about this. No different than you're selling equipment, you're talking to the buyer, you want commodity managers to buy off on it, etc. They're going to say, I got to talk to my boss about this, see if we can get this thing going. All right, cool. Follow up a couple weeks later. Hey, wanted to see if you had that conversation with the boss. No response. Follow up 2 weeks after that. No response. He did it 3 or 4 times over 2.5 months. The same method, just emailing. And in HubSpot or Apollo or any of these other systems, you can see it was sent, not opened. So I look at it and I'm like, he sent 4 emails. None of them were open. He had a good conversation, but we were waiting to see if he's had the conversation with his boss, the potential customer. So what do? I'm a man of action. I instantly go in there. Do I have a cell phone number? Yep, look at that. It's in his signature. It even says cell phone. Somebody puts their cell phone number in a signature, I'm texting you. You left that information out there. I'm going to use it. Pull up my phone and text guy. Hey, forgot his name. Let's just say, hey, Steve, it's Kyle, MFG Tribe CEO. My guy was reaching out to you. You guys have a good conversation. Haven't heard back. This was the next steps. Can you please let me know what the deal is with the status of this project? I want to see if we can get something going. Did not respond to it. Come Monday, he sends an email to the salesperson saying, hey, you need to have a conversation tomorrow, Tuesday, with my boss, the one that was waiting to make the decision or waiting to pitch it to. That stuff happens all the time. And I'm not saying that that's just simple the way it works. Me, one text happens. I get ghosted all the time. My sales guys bring me stuff, no engagement back, people's ghosting them. I text them, no response, call them, no response, etc. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if something's not working, stop doing it. If you've emailed somebody multiple times, you don't get a response, change your method of follow-up. Go to the phone call. So easy, right? Leave a message on their phone. They don't respond to you. Go to LinkedIn. So in the beginning part of the sales process, you should have connected with them on LinkedIn once you start talking to them. So it's easier for you to shoot them a message on LinkedIn. You know how many times I've done that? Just this year alone, I've probably sent hundreds of email or messages on LinkedIn from potential deals that stalled for whatever reason. Maybe not hundreds, maybe 800. My guys do it all the time though, because you have to figure out how can I get a hold of this person. Just emailing them when they have 150 emails a day, you're going to get lost in it. So you have to change it up. How do I get a hold of this person right now? I've been in my office having a conversation with a salesperson. Yeah, they're not responding. What's the phone number? Give it to me. Dial it up, put it on speakerphone. Let's see if we can get a hold of them right now. Be a man of action or a woman of action. You have to take action in order to get the results that you want, but you have to change the follow-up method. So I think we all could agree on point number 3. Number 1, industrial and manufacturing salespeople and marketers don't follow up enough. They give up. Yep. If they are following up, point number 2, they're not changing the method of follow-up. They think it's just 2 things, phone call and email. It's not. Phone call, email, snail mail, text them, LinkedIn connection request, LinkedIn message, stop by for a personal visit. There's 7. You can get much more creative. Do Google retargeting ads or retargeting ads. Geofence their building, like what we're doing with a lot of our customers right now. Doing geofencing ads. Geofence their building so they see your branding. Then when you follow up, it's like you're trying to go after omnipresent. But follow-up is the worst. It's the worst than it's the biggest crutch that salespeople have is not following up enough, but especially in industrial. Usually they don't follow up enough because they're not organized, because they're not using a CRM, because they're not being managed properly, and they're not being held accountable to a standard that is so high. But I used to do this when I was in industrial sales, hold my team to a high standard. Did you follow up? Why didn't you follow up? Why are you waiting for all these things to happen? I used to say that if I have a sales meeting and we're going over deals on a weekly basis, what deals are open, and your response is always, I'm waiting, that's a bad situation. Hey, what's the status with ABC company? Oh, I'm waiting for them to respond. What's the status with this company? I'm waiting for them to get an answer from their GM. What about this one? I'm waiting for a PO. No, stop waiting. Just take action. What's the status with this? I followed up 3 times. I'm going to hit them tomorrow in this method. If that doesn't work, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. They're not engaging. Okay, cool. You got a plan. Waiting is not a plan. Waiting is what people that don't produce results end up doing. All right, guys, hopefully you got value out of the content. If you did, share with somebody you know, hit the subscribe button below, turn on notifications, follow me on LinkedIn if you're not already following me. And if you want to listen to all this stuff in a podcast form, every major podcast platform has industrial sales and marketing with me, and I'll see you on the next one.